superstate internationally. This is written by somebody called Gary Allen. Years ago, Allen says, Nelson Rockefeller reportedly demanded and received the privilege of naming his men to top administrative posts on all the Republican committees. The effect on the Republican Party is all too clear. It has been reliably estimated that over the years the Rockefellers have placed at least 5,000 persons in important positions at the highest level of the federal government. The Rockefeller influence and authority now runs the top civil service bureaucracy, thereby transcending the administrations of mere Republicans and Democrats. Having a big stake in the international foreign policy, the Rockefellers always make sure that the Secretary of State and the Director of the CIA are their boys, in commas. Marshall, Acheson, Dulles, Herter, Rusk and Kissinger at the time of writing in 1976. This is a guy who was writing this. He's taking this from a book from a guy called Gary Allen. Have all laboured to turn the backward Soviet Union into credible power to force the great merger, while at the same time fighting wars to make the world safe for Standard Oil. The CIA has served as the State Department and Standard Oil's enforcement arm, destroying genuine anti-communist movements around the world. The CIA was created and staffed by Rockefeller relative Allen Dulles. American foreign policy meant billions of dollars for the Rockefellers. It has been paid for in many cases by the blood of our soldiers, in every case by the sweat of our taxpayers. In his reminiscence, John D. Rockefeller informs us, one of our greatest helpers has been the State Department in Washington. Our ambassadors, ministers and consuls have aided to push our way into new markets to the utmost corners of the world. Washington reporter Jack Anderson put it in this way in 1967. The State Department has often taken its policies right out of the executive offices of the oil companies. When big oil can't get what it wants in foreign countries, the State Department tries to get it for them. In many countries, the American embassies function virtually as branch offices of the oil combine. The State Department can be found almost always on the side of the Seven Sisters, as the oil giants are known. Just as the Rockefellers make sure they are running a perennial disastrous foreign policy, you can bet your last devalued dollar that the Rockefeller Mafia controls the national and international money game. The Rockefellers have made the US Treasury Department virtually a branch of the Chase Manhattan Bank. The Rockefeller page, now that's what I call shoots by the cheek of the devil, the result of Illuminism and its Luciferian doctrine. Let's see. Just reading through here. He also was a Professor Norman Cohn. He's Bilderberg, the Round Table, the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, and Freemasonry, the role played by the Judeo-Masonic Freemasonry and the success of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, to say nothing of Salonika and the Young Turk movement. Jeremiah explains the reason in chapter 29, 17 to 19. Thus said the Lord of hosts, behold, I will send upon them the sword, the famine and the pestilence, and make them as vile figs that cannot be eaten. They are so evil, and I shall persecute them with the sword, the famine and the pestilence, and will deliver them to be removed to all the kingdoms of the earth, to be a curse and an astonishment and a hissing and a reproach among all the nations, whether I have driven them because they have not hearkened to my words. And that was in response. He was putting this response to Professor Norman Cohn, who disputes I'm just reading it. Hold on. Following evidence provides conclusively the existence of a Judeo-Masonic conspiracy which is no longer a theory. The facts speaks for themselves. Professor Cohn should have known that the fatal combination of usury and Baal worship were the real reason for the banishment of the children of Israel and the Jews from Palestine back in 70 AD. The Bible is crammed full of their exploits. To pretend it was always a mistake, in the wake of the overwhelming evidence thus far provided, further proof that a conspiracy of chutzpah to obfuscate is well established. It's talking about people who are posing as Jews, not real Jews, like the ones who were there at the time of Jesus away back in the biblical times, because Jesus was in fact a black man. The people of the tribes of Ethiopia, they can trace their genealogy, their DNA away back to 2,000 years ago, the tribe of Judea. The Ashkenazi Jews, some people would suggest that they're not even from the true line of the Semitic tribes. They're in fact fake. And so when they stand there saying, oh, anti-Semitic, you're anti-Semitic, they may well not even be Semitic, but hey, we'll just let them go and claim whatever they want. But I'm not anti-Semitic because I'm most definitely pro the Semitic people, especially the Arabs who are from the house of Shem, and they are definitely of the Semitic tribe. So yes, don't ever say I'm anti-Semitic. I'm 100% anti-Zionist. 100% anti-zombie. I'm 100% anti-Freemasonic skullduggers. You know what we should be calling for? We need a redemption. We need a redemption from all the evil bastards of the planet. Tell me, Bob Marley, what do you think about that? When are we going to get it?
Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation, triumphantly. Won't you keep to sing another song of freedom? Is all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs. From mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. Got to fulfill the book.
Right, and we're back again. And taken from this same book, Satanic Voices, Ancient and Modern, The Unacceptable Face of Zionism. And this chapter starts off, it is obvious that not all Zionists are Jews, but not so obvious is the fact that not all Jews are Zionists. Tahin Bashir, in the introduction to his booklet, Edwin Montague and the Balfour Declaration, draws our attention to the fact that many prominent and influential Jews at the turn of the century were completely opposed to the Balfour Declaration, both in fact and in principle, and that it was contrary to religious law. If anybody doesn't know what the Balfour Declaration is, it was British mandate, a Lord Balfour, who declared that Palestine, the land where the Jewish people had been dispersed in 70 AD from, and would not return unless there was a Messiah present, and there was a people who were living peacefully there, the Muslim Palestinians were living there peacefully since the Crusades of the Christians away back under Pope Urban, away back at the 12th century, 10th, 11th, 12th centuries, with the Richard the Lionheart and such like, where Saladin managed to restore some order and justice back in the land there. When the Christians at the time took over, it was said that the blood ran up to the knees of the horses. It was that bad. Anyway, so the Balfour Declaration was when one group of people promised another group of people the land of another group of people, and when one other group of people committed a genocide against that group of people, the group of people who had already proposed it, who had won that war, which they were going to guaranteed to win anyway, because if you look at it, Great Britain with all its empire of India, Australia, America, the USA, the Soviets, all against Germany, Japan and Spain. Not much of a fair fight, so there was no danger of the Germans ever winning or the Japanese ever winning. It was just a case of put up the two fighters, you've got one winner and you've got one loser. Who really was the winners and the losers when you look at it? Well, the losers were the people who died, obviously, clearly. The poor people had to go and fight in the wars. The poor people who, all the time, it's the poor people. The poor people on the streets. No, your elites. Your elites don't go off to war and get slaughtered. They send other people's children to the slaughter. Lambs to the slaughter. And then when the Balfour Declaration, I'm reading this now, dated November 2nd, 1917, was made public, very little was known about his motivations and the interplay of forces that had moved the British government to promise the establishment of a national home for the Jews that does not prejudice the civil and religious rights of the non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by the Jews in any other country, from the Balfour Declaration. It was. The Declaration